Dr. Velasco, can I have you just spell your first and last name for me, please? And give me
My
your
first
title.
name is Aaron. Last name is Velasco, Velasco.
And your title.
I am a professor at the University of Texas at El Paso.
Specifically, you study geosciences, seismology?
I am a seismologist by training.
Dr. Velasco, tell us, is it rare for us here in El Paso to experience earthquakes? Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
So it is rare to feel earthquakes, but there have been earthquakes in the area for quite some time. I mean, since I think there was an earthquake sequence in 2011 that was felt in the lower valley. And so earthquakes are around us, but we haven't necessarily had, something of significant size like this to shake the city.
Given the fact that it appears it happened about 200 miles east of us, is that correct?
Yes.
Given the fact that we're so far away, is it possible that there was any damage that could be felt here or experienced?
Probably no. I mean, it was it's a magnitude 5 is what the latest estimates are. And so for us to experience any damage would be highly unlikely. It had to been larger. I mean, it could have maybe done some damage, but it's far enough away. Usually the closer you are, the more damage is what you get. And it certainly, there's probably no damage in El Paso.
Gotcha. What about at the epicenter? Would a magnitude 5 cause damage there?
It would be difficult. It happens. Things are knocked over. Even sometimes windows will break or something like that. But it would be very, very minor still.
Gotcha. In terms of El Paso, a lot of El Pasoans feel like earthquakes can't happen here, they can't be felt here. Can you kind of discuss that myth?
It is a myth, and over the years, I've lived here almost 19 years. I just have people look at the Franklin Mountains, and the Franklin Mountains were caused essentially by earthquakes, and so they're not frequent here, but they do occur here. And so I always tell people that the earthquake hazard here isn't like California, but it's not zero. And so there could be an earthquake on the Franklin Mountains Franklin Mountains fault, but it may not even happen in our lifetimes. So that's how low the probability is.
When was the last time that there was an earthquake like in El Paso, like in the epicenter?
The epicenter, there was actually a 2.5 that was like in 2012 that was felt in some sections of the city. So, they're rare, they don't occur, and they haven't been large. And like I said, there was a cluster of magnitude 4.5s that occurred about 80 miles southeast of here in 2011. So there's been earthquakes around. There was a felt earthquake there was one near Deming at 4.1 that was felt, I believe it was felt in the ballpark several years back, the new ballpark. So, they have been in the area. It's not necessarily rare, I would say. It's infrequent, but it does occur.
Our phones at the station were ringing off the hook. Should El Pasoans be concerned?
At this point, I would say no. It's pretty far away. I think that even if there was a larger earthquake, we still wouldn't have damage here. So I think that there's no need to be specifically worried about that particular earthquake sequence that occurred this morning.
Given the fact that it is rare, but as you mentioned, it could happen, what are the steps people should take if they are experiencing an earthquake, maybe of a greater magnitude or longer?
That's a great question, and I think we use California as a model for that. And so California has specific things that they want people to do. There's a couple of things. One of them is to make sure you have enough water in your house, and I think everyone's kind of and I think I'll make a little bit of a joke. I think everyone is good on toilet paper, hopefully, with the current crisis. But I think the bottom line, and also have a plan. I mean, fortunately, many people are home with their families, and that's a great thing. But if you're out and about, is to have a communications plan. And it turns out that sometimes if you have an out-of-state or out-of-country contact, sometimes it's easier to have that as people are jamming the lines, calling each other, it's very hard to communicate locally. But if you have an out of state or out of area contact that can help to serve as liaison to be able to call in and out and get information. But it's really important to have a plan, and this is not just for earthquakes, but any sort of natural disaster that occurs.
Mm-hmm. But immediately, if you feel the building you're in shaking, what should you do?
So the recommended step is to duck, cover, and hang on. And so what that means is that if you're near a table, get underneath that table, hold on to that table, make sure that the table stays over you to protect you from anything that's falling. The other thing is that don't run outside. Because if you run outside, things could be falling off of, facades could be falling. Here in El Paso, we have a lot of unreinforced rock walls. And so those could collapse and stuff. So if you have that strong of shaking, those are the kind of, stay put and just get cover.
Gotcha. What do you think may have caused this earthquake? I know there's a lot of drilling and maybe fracking in that region. So could that may have been it?
We don't know. Bottom line is, I think that will be further investigation. There has been, actually in that area specifically, there's been earthquakes in the recent past. And so I think the jury will be out for a while. I think there will be people studying this particular earthquake sequence to understand